Welcome back to the UX Design Show. I am your host, Emmanuel Johnson Jr. And today, Adobe has been dropping a bunch of news over the last week. Every time I wanted to report on one, another one would drop, and then another one would drop, and I'm like, you know what? Let's make this all one video so we can fully dive deep into what Adobe is doing, and I think it's pretty dope. First off, we're going to start with the fact that Adobe is giving all the kids from K to 12 $5 a year subscriptions to the whole creative suite. So that's going to be the audio, the video, design, all of these different applications are all going to get $5 a year subscriptions for any of the kids who want to sign up for it. I think the only thing that kind of bothered me in this article about the deal was the fact that you can have 500 users per school or 2,500 per district. Most likely it's going to be 2,500 per district, but that still has to be a pretty big district. So if you live in a small area or the district is small, they may not be able to take advantage of the deal. Hopefully they'll lower the threshold as far as the type of users who can, the people who can afford the programs. I think it's a really good program. Kids being able to learn Photoshop, Illustrator, even Adobe XD, which we're going to get to in a second, because they pointed a subscription for that. We're going to get to that in a second. But that is crucial for education, that kids can learn these things early. These are going to be our future UX designers, future graphic designers, future web designers. So that is fantastic that people are going to be able to afford this for their schools. I graduated high school of 400 kids. My school was pretty big. That threshold probably needs to come down some, maybe 300 if you're going to do per school, and maybe 1,000 per district for the deal to be valid, you know, for a minimum purchase. Hopefully that ends up being the case, but we'll see. Otherwise, I think it's fantastic that they're offering each one of these kids $5 a year to get the whole suite of programs, because so many schools are teaching web design and HTML, all of that stuff at such a young age. Now they'll have a very, very affordable way to get these applications. So that's awesome. Alright, so now we're going to get into what you're really here for. Adobe XD is now free. 45321 it is free. Why is that a big deal? Because if you're someone who's been using Photoshop this whole time, if you've been using Sketch this whole time, if you've been using Extra this whole time, just name your application, right? You now get a chance to try this bad boy out. One of the reasons other applications have grown to where they are is because Adobe is not necessarily obtainable. Let's take it back into history here a little bit. When you had to have Photoshop or Illustrator, any of these applications, it would cost like $2,500 to get the whole suite, right? So that meant if you wanted Photoshop, you would have to then shell out, I think it was like $400 or $500 just to get Photoshop itself. So I mean, for a lot of designers back in the day, you weren't making a whole lot of money. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there wasn't a whole lot of money being made in design. Only recently, and when I say recently, I mean the last 8 years, have our pay raises have gone up because there's been a lot more value and more asked of us as designers and developers. So we're making more money now. And right when that happened, Adobe decided to go to a subscription, which I thought was genius. I pay my $50. Hopefully you pay your $50. But before that, I got no shame in it. I was still in it. Alright? When tours were big, other little websites you could go to, I was getting every chance I could. I would have my little copy and I'd pass it out to other people because it was just too expensive. It was too expensive to buy it. So the fact that they went to the subscription model, which was smart. It was smart. Subscriptions are so much better. They don't make as much money. Maybe, I don't know. I think when I added up the cost of the subscription, is actually, if you pay 2 years, they would drop a new Creative Cloud or a Creative Suite, what it was called back in the day. Every 2 years, that would be like $2,500. If you add up the $50 for 12 months, it ends up being somewhere a whole lot cheaper than that. I'm not great at math on the fly, so don't fault me. Either way it go, oh yes, $600 a year, so that'd be $1,200. So you're talking about a $1,300 difference in what the Adobe Creative Cloud, that's the value it gives you. You may not like paying $50 every month, but it is $1,300 off from what you were spending before, which is around $2,500, $2,600. But I digress. Why are they giving away Adobe XD for free? Because if you're somebody who's been on Sketch, Axure, any of these other applications, even with the InVision, even though InVision do a whole lot of design, they have InVision Studio, I know that. But if you've been using all these other applications because you just refuse to pay for Adobe, that is no longer your fear. You can get XD for free. You can try it out. It's all about making sure people that convert back to being solely Adobe users. The reality is, if you use Photoshop, if you use Illustrator, you're most likely going to use XD. But if you're someone who's strictly a UX designer, meaning you don't come from a traditional design background, you're someone who started fresh in this game, that means you're most likely only using Axure, or you're most likely only using Sketch, or Pop, or whatever the case may be, or Marvel. Guess what? Now you can become a part of the Adobe cult, right? I am very much part of it. I started out as a web designer with Photoshop and Illustrator, so all of those things were great. So when they came out with XD, of course I wasn't using Photoshop, Illustrator. I used Illustrator. Mostly I would use Photoshop to do my design work. XD is fast, it's awesome, it's just as good as Sketch and InVision Studio. You see my videos on that. So I suggest everyone get out, download it if you don't have it, give it a shot. It's free. It means absolute nothing to you. And I'm going to give you some reasons why you should get it, because it's free. The other bit of news they dropped were the latest updates for Adobe XD. And I think this is one of the reasons why they made it free. There's a ton of UX designers out there who are using Photoshop as their main design program. Well, Adobe XD now allows you to import your Photoshop files. They came up with that last month. But this month, May 14th, they now have an update that lets you import them faster. They also support strokes, and I believe some other little features that you have in Photoshop. All of that stuff now is going to convert perfectly into your Adobe XD file, and you don't have to worry about having all your old designs in one format and not being able to go to the new format. So that's fantastic. So tell me what you guys think about below. The fact that the kids are going to be getting access to the whole Creative Cloud for $5 a year per user, $2,500 per district. And if you think about districts, that's pretty good. I think it still needs to be smaller. And the fact that if you have not tried it, can get Adobe XD for free. You can get it for free. And I suggest you do that right now after you watch this video. But before you go, hit that like button if you like this video. Also, hit the subscribe button if you want more content just like this. So stay tuned to UX Designer Show, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.